Okay, what we're looking at here is a vintage from the 1980s CEC quarter scale electric, essentially a pan car. Now, I have stripped off a lot of the paint on the body. This is the body that came with it. I'll give you an idea of what it actually is when I say pan car. Hold on here. Alright. They were very, very basic. I bought this on Marketplace like 2 years ago and just put it in the stockpile. Still has a servo in it. No drivetrain. Now originally this was meant to run on a 540 can motor and I don't know how many nickel metal cells. It's got a lot of good parts as far as aluminum and stuff, axles, body mounts, hubs. They are 6-bolt hubs. You can run 3. The body's pretty beat. It's not cracked up or anything. It just looks like hell. We're going to bring it up to date since we don't have the original drivetrain, which was a gear reduction box here and a big giant pulley, and it was belt drive. So we'll switch over to here. For what I'm doing, this is equivalent to what should have been in it back in the 80s on nickel metal. You know, this is a 540 can motor. This is a Futaba ESC for nickel metal hydride. This is what we're throwing in it. When I say we, I mean me. This is a Hobbywing Max 4 high voltage. You've seen this in previous videos in a Losi 5T. But to give you a size reference, this is going to be overkill. Now, in order to make this system work in that car, I had to make some parts. So I made 2 battery trays for standoffs because the Hobbywing runs on a 6 to 12S system. I made a motor mount with a sliding top plate so I can adjust. Pinion gear, I needed a mod 1.5 to run a 5th scale spur gear, which I took a Baja 5th scale spur gear, made a hub, bored out the center of the spur gear to accept the hub, and 4-bolt pattern, and it is set screwed, so I can set screw on the axle like a typical pan car. So in order to make that do what I want to do with this, I had to make a few parts, not much. And then we have some body options. There's a brand new quarter scale pan car, NASCAR style body, and my buddy from Michigan sent me this body, which is I guess a dirt stock or street stock, or either way, it's an old style body. And he said, just put it on something cool. He sent it to me, and I'm thinking this might be the cool factor. We're going to put it together, we're going to run it on the old body, shake things out, figure out what we need to do, and if it works out the way we want, we'll delete this front bumper, put the street stock, and we're probably going to upgrade this because this is the 80s. Back in the 80s, I don't know if you can see it, there's the servo, an old Futaba with a J plug, and an old Dubro Lynx and servo saver. But back then, they glued the servos to the chassis. And in this scenario, they spaced the servo saver with wood underneath the servo. So if this works, we're going to yank that out. We're going to put in some updated servo mounts, probably a Savox servo, lay that servo back to get a little bit better angle. And that's another thing too, the way this suspension was designed, you can loosen this and I can rotate and get as much caster as I want. This is actually, like I said, 80s. It's got adjustable caster. Now there's no, I mean, your suspension is a spring and a set screw collar, but we'll play with that as we go. This is just taking a 2-year-old project that I've had sitting around because I saw potential, and finally making the parts to drive it and bring it back to life. I like bringing shit back to life. Stay tuned. We'll get it all put together. I'll give you another rundown with all the parts installed. And we're not going to do the body yet. Haven't decided which one we're going to do yet, but we'll get it all installed and do a test drive and see where we're at. We're going to start with 6S. That is capable to 12S. So stay tuned. Alright, this is where we're going to end it for today. We ran into a couple little hiccups. One, either I need longer screws for the battery trays or shorter standoffs. And two, may have misjudged the gearing. So we're going to have to take a 1/4 inch off the motor plate so it can slide back, and or get a bigger spur gear and modify that. I just don't know how big a one they make for the Baja. But overall, you can see the general layout now that ESC and motor and everything is mounted. We're going to end this episode and come back after we get some parts and make the next one and test drive.